Hey all, this is 012boku and
Professional jackass, Jarek here.
and we're here to again. I know I said this thing a few years ago, and maybe even a lot longer than that, saying that I wanted to do some TV things and stuff like that with you guys, and not just anime and movies. Is me and Jarek, and when it was just me doing it by myself as well. With that, well, now I finally got the thought in my head. Why not? We're already doing a lot of stuff already as it is, so why not add a little TV flair to it? And I figured nothing better than starting off with the show, which Jarek started watching some of the show with me, sadly, right in the middle of the series. So we're starting from the beginning, as you do, as you should. I know some people have weird feelings about that and whatnot, but hey. But we're starting with a great suspense show of mine, which is 24.
Yeah, we started watching this with the Satoshi Kon method. Nothing in the sequential order.
By the way, just to show you, back when, I guess you could say, because I wouldn't, or, okay, no, it did come in a box, so yeah, box set. Back when box sets were still a thing, folks, and not just the open up case flaps, where I was going to say the case, but it's a box, so box set.
It's a gift in a box.
Yep. I miss traditional box sets. I think that's why I was making that distinction, because box sets, like they say today, are not always box sets. Butterfly cases and cases with the little jiggies inside. No, those are not box sets. Sorry, box sets means it comes with one of these. Box. Nothing on the inside.
Oh, if you want to
And
ask,
on the inside. And sexy Kiefer Sutherland.
yeah, my favorite collector set would either be like the Sound of Music one, which had like the little music box and the book with the production notes and the photographs. I got that for my sister at Bookman's for $25, by the way. Or the one for Apocalypse Now, the Stanley Kubrick edition, where it looks like a bound up military
Francis
dossier.
Ford Coppola. Kubrick had nothing to do
Oh,
with
sorry,
that.
Francis Ford Coppola. But yeah, didn't I get you that one?
Yes, you did. Yeah, your Full Metal Jacket is Kubrick.
Uh, uh,
Yeah, there is a box set of Full Metal Jacket, but that is also like Apocalypse Now, very hard to find. But we'll probably talk about that when we get to those movies, of course. Long way away from that, at least in my circles. But you know, with this show, you could say similar premise, based in the espionage sort of James Bond style, but with a little bit more realistic flair. See if there are.
well,
I don't know. Well, there's probably a few shows you could relate it to today, but I don't know of too many espionage shows based on terrorism that were done.
no. What you meant to say is there's no good shows like it today. See, this is kind of the OG, and in my opinion, the best one ever. Think
I can
Jason
agree.
think Jason Bourne, but better.
And basically with this is because we're gonna go through episode by episode, so we have little notes on the first episode here, right there, my little paper. But
Oh, and by the way, YouTube Senpai, this isn't real. It's a Chinese airsoft soft dart gun.
oh yeah, well, I wouldn't doubt if the video gets doxxed with that. It's like, oh, because it looked real enough.
But hey, I chose this one because, a bit of a friend of ours loves the Glock series, so hey, this one's supposedly based off the Glock platform, so why not?
Gray Fox, right?
Yep, he
Yeah.
knows.
Shout out, Gray Fox. Shout out. But either way, yeah, it's 24. A show that give a little backstory on the start of the show. Started in 2001. Was originally supposed to be it was supposed to come out right in August, or no, in September actually, but it was supposed to be at the end of September. September 11th happened. Show was put on a hiatus, I think, till November because they didn't want any shows or movies released because of the terrorist acts and
Yeah.
several classic movies like the Die Hard movies that won Arnold Schwarzenegger movie where he was taking down terrorists, and like several other movies that dealt with terrorists were all held back because of the incident. Can understand at the time it was a huge, touchy subject at
And
the
not to
time, and
mention
terrible, of course.
the censorship continued for years afterwards. Because if you don't know, in the original Transformers movie, Megatron basically spears Optimus Prime into the trade towers, and yeah, that got cut. And also, it was a bit of a Zeta Gundam reference, anyways.
Yeah. So, I mean, started around that time, was held back, but eventually, I think they said at the beginning of November, 24 came to light, and it basically started in 2001. And I never got the thing of this because they start doing it, I think, by the third or fourth season, but they start calling it days. So you can essentially mean we're on 24 season one, day one of hour one. Because it does take place over a whole 24-hour period, and if you guys have never seen this show, when we go through the episode through episode thing, we'll try to do it justice. I don't think me and Jarek will be able to give it true justice because it's that damn good and well structured of a show. It's really hard to explain, but stuff is filmed at different moments when they do this, so it's like any film or other show where you film stuff in different episodes at different times, but they film it at certain times to sequence with the day. It just may not be at that time, but they film it to where it's done in real time. So a lot of the show has to be done like that, like clockwork. And if you're behind, and maybe you can come back to it. But if not, you may have to scrap sometimes total ideas. But that's just it. The show is really based on real time, so it fit within an hour. And you get things like a few minutes gone by or a few minutes gone by between certain commercials and whatnot, but it still fit with what they were doing because they wanted it to match up really well. So
Interesting thing about this, and I have to admit, this is something I will give the people who made it credit, but also kind of say, in a sense, also may have shot them in the foot. I love how they call it 24 because when you're in like in a police or military environment, they don't use the 24-hour system. They use the military time system. So you have like the 1200, 2400. But on the other hand, nobody who was watching this at the time would, unless you were in a military family, would really get that shit. So,
which is probably why they didn't do it because they knew they knew probably everybody wouldn't do it, so they went with the modern.
But you just got to know there's some sweat lord out there. They're not using the 2400 military time system. Worst show ever.
Probably there probably were people like that, Jarek. I have no doubt about that. And within this one. And I found out what country that was. So you were almost right on Sri Lanka. It was one of the towns. I don't think it was the island of Sri Lanka, but it was in India. They say. I think they just say it's in India at the start. We don't know what time in India, but our show starts in our time around midnight. A man named Victor Rovner is like evading detection. It looks like he goes into this little stuffy office, like abandoned office or something in India, makes a call via the internet, and we are still in dial-up age, folks. It is 2001, so sadly the show is dated if you watch it now. The show is dated, but it's still great, so if you can mind some dated technology, it's a great show.
Do you remember AOL Online? 24 remembers.
Indeed. And as you can imagine, Victor Rovner passes along to CTU, and the main CTU director at the time, Richard Walsh, which I have the cast list here. Michael O'Neill, who played Richard Walsh, gets a thing because he looks like he's at a party, but he gets a note saying that from Victor Rovner and from his agents that there will be an attempt today. We don't know what. We basically go to a family living in their house by a man named Jack Bauer with his wife Terry Bauer. Jack Bauer is played by our main man here with the 24 over his eye and the other half of his face, Kiefer Sutherland, and his wife Terry Bauer is played by Leslie Hope. They have a daughter, Kim Bauer, played by Alicia Cuthbert, and similar things. Starting out family talk, and then what happens is Kim goes to bed. Like they talk about, Kim's bossing us around. We need to be more assertive. Let's go talk to her. Typical teenage thing. She sneaks out, and then Jack gets called in on the job, and thus starts the whole cavalcade of things with the show. And overall, it's like Jack goes into work while Terry tries to look for Kim. Kim goes to a party with her friend Janet York, who is played by, Jackie Maxwell. And, she's at a party with her with two like rough and tough boys. It was Dan and Rick. I have them here somewhere. Matthew Carey, who played Dan, and then where are you, Ricky? We're here somewhere. Daniel Bess, who played Rick, and they're at a party doing teenage things. Kim lies about her dad being dead and trying to sound cool and hip, and all that's going on. Terry's trying to look for her. Jack at work at CTU, because we find out Jack works for CTU counterterrorism unit. Basically uses his connections to find the password to Kim's computer. Life sucks, one word, Terry. And puts it in, and that's where they track her down. But overall,
got some real True Lies vibes from that scene.
Yeah, well, yeah, that was. In fact, to give a little thing here, I don't think it was True Lies. What did they say? What was the? Oh wait, no, that was the contribution page. They have it here in the little. Oh, connections edited from Enemy of the State. Well, that was I forgot Enemy of the State was 1998. Plus, speaking of which, is a little shout out. If there's things that are connected with Enemy of the State, as you're saying this first episode was, that movie, 24 is going to have a lot of things that ring true for today, but Enemy of the State is eerily close to how things are with the government today, because that, you wouldn't think about it seeing that movie in 98, but now you're like...
Or hey, if you're a hella old hipster boomer like myself, you might go with the original version of the Manchurian Candidate. But hey, not many people have access to the old OG Manchurian Candidate with Angela Lansbury. Yeah,
very
Murder
true.
She Wrote.
And so there's all those little connections there, and like Jack gets into work and he learns from Richard Walsh, who was there at CTU as well, that there is it was a potential, but now it is a confirmed assassination attempt on a running senator running for president, David Palmer, who is played by Dennis Haysbert, who, is basically showing he could be, at the time, there was no black president yet, so he was running in the show as the first black president, hint, and...
Although I kind of think maybe this was an homage to Jesse Jackson, because I think at that point he did run for president twice, which, by the way, Donald Trump helped finance both fucking times. But ironically, this guy came off kind of like what we wish Obama was. A black liberal potential president who's strong, confident, who... Think of like what Kennedy would have been if he was black and competent.
That is sort of what they were going for, like without like the mentioning of like the whole black thing, but they mentioned they wanted a guy who was like Kennedy, but with all the good reasons. I think the overall thing they say in some of the special features is Palmer was a representation of the politician on either side we all wish we could have.
And keep that idea in your head for future seasons, because you're going to see that come into play a lot.
Oh, yeah, because he knows, because Jarek watched the last half of 4 with me, and he watched part of season 5 with me, so he knows a lot of what goes on within some of those scenes, so he gets it a little bit. He's going to get caught up, and he's going to have probably those moments where that makes a lot of sense now.
Yeah, and like I said, keep the idea of the Manchurian Candidate in your head, because that's going to come into play in season 5.
Well, and to that point I mentioned the Manchurian Candidate, like Richard Walsh meets with everybody, they have their meeting. Walsh wants everybody to go out except for Jack. He tells Jack saying, CTU may be compromised. You have to watch your back. I watch you on this personally, and Jack's like, you don't want me, and I can't be a lookout guy for this because I busted 3 of our guys for taking bribe money and stealing money, so I'm the worst guy to have this. He's like, Jack, you're the best person I can have on this because you're the only guy I trust. And Jack says, well, all right, if there's nobody else, I'll do it, but who do I trust? He's like, right now, don't trust anybody, not even your own people. And it's left at that, and you basically have this moment to where Jack is getting information. Another head of CTU, who is a regional director, George Mason, comes in, gives Jack a hard time. You can see George Mason, who's played by Xander Berkeley, is a stuffed shirt character, very stuck-up guy. Like, he gives Jack a disc about the assassination on the president, but Jack is sort of playing coy, wants the source of George's disc, and George won't give it to him. He's stringing him along, pretending to call Ryan Chappelle as the head of CTU and saying, I'll get the information for you, but he's not really talking to anybody. So Jack takes matters in his own hand, gets a trank gun, tranks George Mason in the leg, and then tries to use bribing leverage of George Mason, who has money in the not the Cayman Islands, off the shores of Aruba, in an account that he stole on a drug bust. I think it was from France, a Philippe Darcet, if I remember, and he uses that against him. Eventually, George caves, not wanting to lose his money or his job, gives him the source, and they move on. They move on from there.
What's interesting about that scene? I mean, this is just my own interpretation, of course, but I think the reason why the guy who Jack's boss chose Jack was because he knew they were going to send some stuffed shirt. That it might be the traitor. They might try to pin something on their branch of CTU. So he picked Jack, knowing he would make a beeline for Jack to try to pin it on him. Hence why he wouldn't give him the source information, hoping he would take some dirty intel, and then they'd be able to pin it on Jack and their branch. And Jack must have picked up on that instantly because, again, he remembered, hey, this guy was involved in this one bust, $2,000 went missing. I don't have the evidence, but I know this guy may have been involved. Let me go talk to our computer hacker while he's taking a nap.
And then that sort of sets up the whole thing into the show of who's really on their side, who's gonna just be a bureaucrat and do things by the book, and who's gonna really do what really needs to be done, which is what I like about this show, is that sometimes there is no compromise, sometimes there is no pussyfooting or whatever you want to call it. You have to get your hands dirty and be willing to do things you don't think you're capable of just to protect your country, your loved ones, your friends, whatever you have to do.
Plus, remember that really bitchin' scene where we see the person who's gonna take the hit on Palmer, and I love how the show sets it up. They make you think it's this really foppish looking foreign dude, this photographer, and he's sitting next to this girl, and of course he gets the call from Palmer's wife about the photo shoot, and she's like,
yeah, Penny Johnson Gerald, what's her, it's right here. Keep talking though. Oh, Sherry Palmer.
And she's like, David Palmer, I'm such a big fan. You're the photographer? Have I seen it? And of course, she's like going all, making it look like she's all celeb happy and whatnot. And of course, drags him to the bathroom for the Mile High Club exclusive. Hint, hint, hint. But it turns out she swipes his wallet when he's busy doing the old Billy Bob. And then afterwards, of course, while he's fumbling around looking for his wallet, we find out she's not such a clean and cut little girl. She's got a pipe bomb hidden inside of a fire extinguisher, a parachute suit, and by God, she blows up the jet to get out because now she's got the press pass. She's the photographer.
Yep.
And she's gonna take the shot.
Yeah, and I was gonna go to that scene next. So good on you for beating me to the punch there, Jarek. I'm glad you remind that. And that part was played by. That was Martin Belkin, who played the photographer Rudolph Martin, and Mandy, who is played by or Mia Kirshner, who played Mandy, which was done very well too. And then plus there's also another character here too. I didn't mention Carlos Bernard, who plays Tony Almeida, who has a problem with Jack, or at least doesn't like the way Jack plays loose with the rules. And then you also have Sarah Clark, Nina Myers, a coworker of him, which believe me, it may sound like it has nothing to do with the show, but she had a relationship with Jack because we get this idea that Jack and Terry separated for a while. Jack was obviously sleeping with Nina. I'm betting his wife doesn't know about it, and so on and so forth. And that will come into play later as well. But for the whole thing, once he gets the source, they have those things, and with George, that moves on, and like George basically gives a veiled threat: if you don't know who you're messing with, or you better make sure you watch your back, and that continues. And I was going to mention before you got to that one scene that happens near the end of the show, they had the quote. There's an awesome quote, which I have a quote from IMDb here from the show, that really explains how sometimes when you work these jobs and you're a federal agent, this is how you should be when you're a federal agent. And I quote from Jack Bauer from IMDb here: "You can look the other way once and it's no big deal, except it makes it easy for you to compromise the next time, and pretty soon that's all you're doing, compromising, because that's the way you think things are done. You know those guys I busted? You think they were the bad guys? Because they weren't. They weren't the bad guys. They were just like you and me, except they compromised once."
And that's the thing, it's that slippery little slope, because you compromise that one time, you do that one favor for that one guy, but oh, look at that, now he's got something on you and you have to work with him.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And as well, Jarek did a great job explaining the ending with Martin Belkin and Mandy, and how Mandy stole the press pass and is getting their information. Pretty much, that sets up that someone is doing a hit on Palmer. And like CTU gets the information at the end that a 747 just blew up over the Mojave Desert. So it's like, oh great, this is probably connected to it possibly. Let's look into it. There also was a little thing with David Palmer, because it is David Palmer just going over his preliminaries, because it's the preliminary vote in California about who's going to be the major front runner for president. It's not the presidential election itself, but it's the last preliminary vote and hearing, or no, not the preliminary, a presidential primary vote before the actual election. And, they basically go about it and everything seems fine. And, Palmer's just doing his usual thing, except he gets one phone call from a Maureen Kingsley, who's a reporter. They actually have who she's playing, because she's seen again. I think it's, Davika Parikh, who plays Maureen Kingsley. And, he's talking to her over the phone, because we saw her on TV giving her report, but she talked to the president not the president, senator over the phone. Sorry, I'm getting ahead there if I just spoiled things for you if you haven't seen it. But she's talking to the senator, and Senator David Palmer says, "You want my answer, Maureen? Here's my answer. You air that story and anything like it," and then he just hangs up the phone, and he tells his assistant Patty that'll be all. Sherry asks him what was that about. He doesn't say anything to her. He just says it's, media nonsense. And then she's just asking, "David, I'm concerned. What was that?" And he just slowly shuts the sliding door to the outside balcony, and it's like, okay, there's probably more there that we haven't heard yet. But that essentially, and also, Kim wanted to go home because she noticed her mom was calling, and also Terry goes off with Alan York to find both their daughters, and they're going to the place where their party was held, since they got all the information from Jack. But when Kim was trying to go home, Dan and Rick are essentially kidnapping Kim and Janet, because they didn't make the turn where they were supposed to, and down the dark roads of Los Angeles they go.
Yeah, by the way, any of you parents out there, you got a little girl you're sending off to college? Pro fucking tip. Don't send them to an all-girls college. That will get them raped, because, they don't allow boys in the college campus. They just wait outside until the girls get bored and want to party with some cute guys and have a few beers. Or, spring break, because, hey, Cancun's always open for business.
Absolutely, and I will also I'll also probably say I'll do my usuals. We'll do characters, and for characters, this cast is always a good cast. So I will basically say essentially everybody was good in this, but I have to give the edge to three characters. I give it to Jack Bauer, Kiefer Sutherland, Michael O'Neill, who played Richard Walsh, and Xander Berkeley, who played George Mason, because all three of them for government agents really gave the side of it. You see Richard Walsh is this clean cut and no nonsense sort of guy knowing what has to be done. Jack, who is this loving father, but takes his job seriously and knows what's at stake to protect the country as well as oneself. And then you have George Mason, the bureaucrat, who does things obviously to get ahead and shows that he does not want to be dicked around. So those three were my picks. Jarek, how about you?
Well, of course, my number one pick's got to be Mr. Bauer himself because don't fuck with freedom and democracy when Jack's in the house.
nice cock of the gun.
Then you've got what was the agent the pencil neck?
The pencil neck. George Mason, Xander Berkeley's character.
Yeah, George Mason showed a very sociopathic "fuck you, I'm getting ahead no matter what." But last but not least, I have to give it up to the terrorist on the plane because
Mia Kirshner, Mandy, all right.
Yeah, because she went from a sweet little star in her eyes, I've got a dream girl, to dear God, I just blew up a 747 and I got a date with a dead president on a dime. She was a great fucking sociopath.
And I was wondering if you were gonna pick her because she is my dark horse favorite. I wanted to wait to see what you said, but yeah, she was my dark horse favorite because she played it off almost like a soap opera.
Yeah.
It was like, I'm going to be prim and prissy and all that. But when it really turned table, she, showed that vicious side and just the look in her face as soon as she blew that door to the plane before it exploded. That is a woman who knew she was in control and excellently done, Mia Kirshner. Excellently done.
Job is done for fearless leader. We will get Moose and Squirrel. Oh, and speaking of Miss Kingsley, she's the fakest of the fakest news. Believe me, I've never seen such goddamn bullshit ever. Never listen to the mainstream media. Only listen to what I have to say.
You gotta do what it is. It's always how they see it. They're never gonna know. They're never gonna see. But Jack Bauer, you can trust Jack Bauer. And together with Jack Bauer, we can only hope to make America great again.
Mr. Bauer, I have but one request. Please make America great again. Go full Rittenhouse. We don't mind.
And it's having a little fun. I mean, if you guys haven't known by now, me and Jarek are Trump supporters. We don't mind. We know Trump isn't the only one. We are mostly for freedom in America and for the Republic. And, by God and himself, that will hopefully be saved one day. But, yeah, it's like we don't hate Trump. So if you had to have anything, yeah, we don't hate him. So, yeah, come at us for that one too, YouTube, now that I've said it.
But, yeah, until J.P. Sears runs for president, he's the best we got.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Oh, God, seriously. I want either him and Thomas Sowell to run for president or Razor Fist and Sticks and Hammer 666.
that would be something. And I guess you could say final episode or final thoughts on the episode. I liked it overall. It doesn't give much. It is, again, the definition of a slow burn series, but it's a great start. It gives you enough to hook you in and to keep you going. And the way they ended it.
Want to make your Fallout 4 great again? Download the Jack Bauer mod. And while you're at it, maybe get a Walter P99 mod while you're at it.
Which, by the way, Season 1 is another of my personal favorites. A lot of people remember this show, but they don't remember it until you say something about it or you show them. So hopefully with these review guys, me and Jarek can not re-educate, I want to say, but reinvigorate you to find the show. And it's also sad because it's like Fox and others maybe want to forget this show exists because of what it stood for. Because the show never got a Blu-ray release as far as I know. So there's only the DVDs, and I'm glad I have the whole show. So, you know, I don't know why they never released it on Blu-ray, but I think it's because, it was about terrorism and freedom, and, they're showing some things that are pretty true to the government nowadays. Uh-oh.
Well, that's because Mr. Bauer, he's out to make television great again. It's a great show, the best I've ever seen. Believe me, you're never going to want to stop watching.
You are really good at that, Jarek. You were too good at that Trump impression, I must say. Razor fist, you're the best, but Jarek here is pretty damn close. But yeah, that'll be it for now then, guys. But yeah, what do you think? Do you guys know of 24 at all? Do you like the first season? And what did you think? What do you think of episode 1 of the first hour? Just let me and or Jarek know down in the comments section below. And we will see you guys again, hopefully soon on the next review. I want to try to maybe get these reviews out a little more so we don't have as many gaps in between them. Because I want to try to get the things that I like to do done a bit more and find more time to do them. I'll try to be better at that. I know I've said that before and been unsuccessful, but I'm going to try to somewhat mean it this time. Alright, guys? Okay. Until then, this is Owen Tuboku and...
Deuces. I'm Jackass.
Alright, and he said it. Deuces, guys. Later.